Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. Hey innovators, we are super lucky to have Melissa Sariffodeen, who is the CEO and co-founder of Canada Learning Code. She is a celebrated digital literacy advocate who is dedicated to ensuring that women and youth have the critical skills, confidence, and opportunities they need to thrive in our increasingly digital world. She is a graduate of the Richard Ivey School of Business and currently pursuing her Master's in Education Policy at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at U of T. She even taught herself how to build websites from scratch using HTML when she was 11 years old and has been coding ever since. Wow, welcome, Melissa. Did I miss anything in that intro?
Oh, it was great. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Oh, fantastic. And I actually did some research about you. I've actually been a long-time fan of yours just because of what you're doing is amazing beyond belief. And in fact, your kids learning code, I just think some of the programs are just phenomenal. But I also read that you won the 2017 RBC Canadian Women Entrepreneur Award for social change. So congratulations to that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an awesome opportunity to showcase the work that we're doing across the country. So it was a great night.
Oh, amazing. So let's get to it. How did Canada Learning Code come about?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a few kind of major milestones in our history, including the fact that we started not as Canada Learning Code, but as Ladies Learning Code. And we started in 2011, really out of self-interest. There was a group of women, myself included, who wanted to learn more technical skills. So I had taught myself to code when I was younger, but as your intro, spoke to, I went to business school, and I didn't pursue technical training or computer science in university or college. And so I was really looking to build that technical skill set after I had graduated and after I was working in Toronto in some full-time work. And that was a similar story to many of the women who ended up being part of that founding team. There are 4 of us, and we really wanted to create opportunities to learn to code. And at the time in Toronto, there weren't opportunities that spoke to women that were, explicitly welcoming for women. And there wasn't even really that much for beginners either. So we wanted to create an opportunity for people who had never seen a line of code to build something, to feel the rush and the excitement, have that aha moment with technology. And that really, has set us on this amazing journey and momentum, which has since propelled us to launch Girls Learning Code for girls, Kids Learning Code, co-ed programming, Teens Learning Code, so for, co-ed teens, but also we have an amazing program for teen girls, and Teachers Learning Code. And then, the story, I keep telling the story, we keep adding, we own the domain for Babies Learning Code as well. But we really felt there was an opportunity to speak for more than just the demographics that we were reaching, and that we knew that all Canadians needed these skills and access to these opportunities. And so last year in the fall, we launched and rebranded, evolved, we like to say, to Canada Learning Code. And the idea there is that we are an organization that provides technical and coding skills to all Canadians, and we have a really big goal to reach 10 million of them in the next 10 years.
Wow, 10 million, that's a huge number. That's a massive goal. I took one of your courses, the HTML for building websites, and I have to tell you, one, it was so affordable. The instructors were so down to earth. The volunteers were so helpful. I actually walked out with a website. I couldn't believe I actually had built all those things. It was just such a fun experience. So I definitely have been using a lot of your courses, and I definitely can attest to the value and the simplicity, and it's just so great.
Thank you. I know. I appreciate that. And one of the things to kind of note, or what I love of that story, is that mentors and that those instructors there to help. And that's really what we think is the magic of our programs, and so many others do as well, is the fact that for every 4 learners, there's one technical expert who's there working with you throughout the entire day or the entire, program, helping you learn. So often learning something like coding or a new language can be really daunting. And there's these little things that will be hiccups that will just trip you up. And it's not because you don't know or you're not following the logic or you're not following how it works. You're just getting caught up in these small little details that these mentors can really help you through. And that really helps increase confidence in learning these skills. So the fact that we have hundreds and thousands of mentors across the country who volunteer their days to help people learn in our programs is really amazing.
No, I think it's crazy. And it's a 1-to-4 ratio. That's the thing that astonishes me most. Like classrooms have 1 to 30 students, 1 to 40 students. It's crazy. Yeah. Is that kind of what prompted a little bit of this teacher's learning code as well? Was it about the student ratio or it was just because teachers were more interested how did teacher's learning code come into play?
Yeah, I always tell a story that teachers just kind of snuck into all of our other programs. And then we were like, oh, this is a very specific group, because it wasn't teaching them coding skills to do something with it themselves. It was to teach them to teach others. And so it was really clear to us that was a different approach than any other programs. The really reason why we started Teachers Learning Code, again, aside from them sneaking in and realizing they had a unique need, was because coding isn't in the curriculum most places across Canada yet. We're working to change that, but there's only a couple of provinces, that are offering it. And so we really felt the need to empower and, educate and inspire teachers to start introducing this to their students. Because we believe at one point, as soon there will be, this will be something that'll show up in every classroom. And we need teachers that are ready and excited to, make coding and other technical skills really relevant to all kids. That's where that need really came from.
That's amazing. So the coding is going to get hopefully included in the curriculum for schools. What ages will that be introduced at?
Yeah, so there's a couple of provinces, BC and Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick is close too, who have coding as part of the curriculum, and that's as young as kindergarten, so K to 8 and beyond. Computer science shows up in a lot of high schools across the country, and it has for many years. But we're really advocating for younger. So when we talk about getting coding in the curriculum, it's in the places where it's not, which is typically in K to 8.
That's amazing. Wow, that's really young. I mean, I guess children really do already use tablets and iPads and other computer technology these days, including all their board games are all computerized. So it kind of makes sense. I'd never actually thought about kindergarten to grade 8.
Yeah, no, for us, really what we're teaching in our name is a bit misleading because its code is so explicit in it. But really what we're teaching, coding is a way of teaching, or the languages are a way of teaching something broader. And for us, it's about problem solving and critical thinking and logical thinking and creativity and entrepreneurialism. So there are a lot of other skills, foundational skills that you can start really early. And when we work with younger students or younger kids, we're maybe not even on the computer yet necessarily. We'll do a lot of unplugged activities that focus on the different ways of thinking, on pattern recognition, on some of the fundamental, underlying principles of coding. And then as they age and they, get more proficient with computers and technology and can type, they'll start to progress to languages and the syntax. But when they're younger, we're really just focusing on fundamental building blocks.
So this is really interesting because that means you're actually moving not just coding, beyond coding, because you're talking about different ways of thinking and building that confidence at such a young age. Because I noticed that you have this amazing entrepreneurial track for children that you guys have just launched. I think the age group is 9 to 12, I believe.
Yeah, we do, like an entrepreneurship camp and entrepreneurship workshops too, really tying together it's not just coding. We do a lot of design programming as well. It's really technical skills, all with the goal of having, youth and adults be builders and not just consumers. And so entrepreneurship and, being able to take an idea, maybe it is a digital product or a service or a solution, but, being able to think about what problem does it solve? Who's this for? Is there a way to make money from it or, sell it, or how are you going to do that, market it? So we try to wrap in a lot of other important skills that we think are going to help youth thrive over the coming years.
That's amazing. It's like you've started a new momentum right off the bat in all different areas and age groups. It's amazing. I can't wait for your babies learning code to get launched.
Yeah. Babies and parents. There are a few others, but yeah, I mean, almost year after year, we were adding on a different program, really out of the community interest. And so Teens was one of the newer programs to start because we had so many young girls, ages 8 to 13, who are becoming teens. And so we've definitely evolved with our community. Now, almost 7 years in, we sit with all these amazing programs focused on really specific groups, but it's really been an evolution and growing with the community, growing with the need, and evolving as technology does as well.
It's amazing. So what are some of the most popular courses so far?
Yeah, it's a good question. Mostly across the country, most popular is the one that you took. So an intro to HTML and CSS, which is the language of web pages. And that workshop will allow you in a day or over a couple of evenings, build your own website from scratch. And, with that, allow you to maybe edit a site that you already have. If your work has a site or personal site, if you've got a blog. So people come to it for many reasons, but that still seems to be the most popular workshop across the board. The other one that's becoming pretty popular for us too is anything that involves data analysis or visualization. And I think it's, we're in a time with big data and artificial intelligence, which is fueled by data. And so there's this, growing movement and desire for people to know how to work with it, manipulate it, visualize it. We even have an artificial intelligence workshop that's popular as well. So HTML and CSS definitely, and then it's growing. And for youth, game making, music making, things that are really fun and engaging, and we try to put them in a context of a social cause, or how can they build something that has a bigger purpose.
Oh, I love it. I think there's one of your courses for the kids. I think there was like 5 to 7 or something like that. That was about how to make emojis and create prints and graphic designs. And I was like, that is so fun, taking art in a very different direction and helping them really be able to visualize it.
Yeah, definitely. And
that's brilliant. So what are some tools that innovators and entrepreneurs could leverage from, Canada Learning Code?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for us, we really believe that having an understanding of how technology works and how it's built is going to be really critical for everyone. You can't go anywhere these days without technology touching some part of that experience. I think about this morning getting a latte from Starbucks on my app. Maybe taking Lyft or Uber, somewhere. Even tapping a Presto on the TTC if you're in Toronto or abroad. And so I think technology is everywhere, and it's powering pretty much everything. And so learning how technology is built, so learning coding is, I think, is going to be really, really critical for every role into the future. So whether it's an entrepreneur, want to start your own business, or whether you're, working in a company, and I think it's going to help you jumpstart your career, but it provides that understanding or that way of connecting the dots for people. So maybe you aren't in a technical role, but you work with a technical team likely, or you will as your job evolves. And so being able to understand and speak a common language is really important, and being able to know how you could leverage the power of technology and how it's built, how it's structured to solve some other problem that you're working on.
Oh, that's amazing. Is there any other advice you could provide to our aspiring or budding Canadian innovators out there?
In respect to coding, I would say just get started. You don't have to be a developer. Our goal is not that we create 10 million developers across the country. If you're not technical, that's okay. I think learning to code also helps you understand, where your gaps exist. And maybe it is you come to a workshop and it's not for you, but you can speak that language. You know that it's not for you, and that you need to maybe build that experience or expertise elsewhere. But I think especially if you're getting started, or you're an entrepreneur and you're building a team around you, being able to understand how this works, how technology works, how website works, and connecting the dots is going to be really important. So I would say, even if you don't aspire, you think you'll never, maybe focus on the technical side of your solution, or really learning this even in just a day will give you some confidence and context.
That's brilliant. And As Canada Learning Code is a community-driven type of event and movement. I'm going to call it a movement now because I just think it is. How can others help support Canada Learning Code?
I love that question because we've got big goals, like really big goals. So there's lots of different ways. If you're technical, you run an organization, you have a technical team, volunteering and giving back, hosting our programs. Right now, we've got chapters running programs in 35 different cities across the country, and so we're always looking for technical mentors. We're looking for spaces to host our programs because we don't have a physical space anywhere outside of Toronto, and so we're always looking for that type of support. We're also looking for innovative partnerships on content, on sponsorship, donations. We're a registered charity, so I'll definitely have to put a plug in for supporting our work that way. But beyond that, really just looking for the community to get involved and to give back and help other people learn.
I love that. So everyone, you guys can be involved, be a mentor, and then you can also be inspired by those around you. This is kind of a win-win situation.
Totally.
Melissa, I find you so incredibly fascinating beyond belief. I like to get to know you and our listeners to get to know you a little bit better because, your background is so incredible. You've got a consulting background, your business background, and then you're doing this social cause. It's just amazing. So how do you kind of keep it all together? Do you have kind of a key business philosophy or a quote that kind of helps you stay focused?
For me, to stay focused, if you ask my team, I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm the kind of person that comes in and I have some big vision that I had that morning. But no, in terms of our kind of core values and the way that we work, it's really about launching fast, failing fast, iterating faster. And you may have heard that before. It's for us though, it really rings true. We really are driven by our community, and the best way to figure out what is going to serve them best is to try different things. And we're really biased towards action. So that's important for us too, is kind of that incremental learning. Progress is an achievement as well. And so just getting things out there, constantly iterating, not being afraid to fail forward is really important. So that's something that I really guides my everyday.
I love that. Not being afraid to fail forward. That is a great quote. I'm going to write that up. I got to put a sticky in front of my computer to remind me of that myself.
Yeah.
Is there a popular productivity tool that you use? You've got so many chapters across the country that are happening. Mm-hmm. How does the magic work?
Yeah, it's a good one. We, as an organization, we're using Slack. Canadian-founded company. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but it's an instant communications tool. That's really key for us to keep engaged across the country. So we love that. We, love Hootsuite in terms of social media management. We have a big social presence. Follow us at Encoders on Twitter or Instagram. And so those are big ones. For us, communication is really key. We use, and I use video tools, and email is a big one, and project management tools. But every day, almost all day, I'm in Slack.
Amazing. Has there been a book or a podcast or anything that inspires you or you're currently into right now?
I love to read. So I read almost 2 books a week. If you can believe it or not. I love it. And so the book I read recently, there's a couple. One of them is Radical Candor by Kim Scott, which is really interesting for anybody who manages teams or people. And probably even if you don't, it's useful. And then most recently I read How We Can Win by Anthony Lacavera. I'm pronouncing his name probably wrong, but I really like that one. And as he called it that fail forward. It's something that I really thought a lot about when I was reading that book, and this idea of how we as Canada can win, and this need for us to be competitive, to take risks, to be bold, and it's something that again really resonates with us and the work that we're doing. But I thought that book really captured a lot of interesting points about our future.
Oh, amazing! And we actually had him on our podcast, and he was
amazing,
brilliant beyond belief. Because I'm actually addicted to his How We Can Win, especially the whole story about the Win Mobile coming to life. I was like, I actually still think it should be made like a TV series, and CBC needs to pick it up because it's so good and juicy.
It's great.
Who knew that Canadians could be like that? It was just kind of, very fascinating. And the tips he gives, I'm with you. I'm a huge raving fan of his as well. It's brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah.
So when you say you read 2 books a week, is it actually like a paper book, or is it an audio book? I'm just kind of trying to figure how can you read that much content? That's amazing.
I still prefer paper. I mean, we're on a podcast, and I know audiobooks are a big thing, but I still prefer paper. And I think for me, I was an avid reader as a kid. I've gotten very, very quick and proficient in reading, and so I can consume it at the pace that I want to. So I prefer that, and When I have it like sitting on my desk or, my side table at home, I'm like, I got to read that. It really keeps me motivated. So I'm still a big fan of the physical book.
Oh, me too. I actually go to the library. I'm a big, huge fan of this. But even though I got this podcast, I still need the cover, the artwork, the feeling, the smell. I just need that.
Totally. Yeah, it's magical. It's still so magical.
It's so good. It's so good. And finally, do you have like a favorite Canadian delight or a place that you kind of tend to gravitate towards to kind of have some downtime?
Yeah, that's it. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to travel, and I do continue to travel a lot across the country, mostly just in the country. I love the GTA and for its food. So I've spent a lot of time in Scarborough and Mississauga eating lots and lots of delicious things. But I love in terms of like retreat. I visited this place, Nelson, BC, not too long ago to launch one of our chapters, and that's by far like my favorite place. I'm really trying to plan a trip back there very soon. It's just such an interesting, like very entrepreneurial focused little community of, it's like less than 10,000 people, huddled in the BC Valley, and it's really amazing. So I would encourage everyone to check it out. Canada is super beautiful.
Oh, yay. And finally, Melissa, how can our listeners connect with you and get in touch with Canada Learning Code?
Yeah, well, social media is really big for us. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The organization's at Learning Code, and I'm just at Mel Sariffodeen, Sariffodeen, and you can connect with us that way.
That is awesome. And for our listeners out there, I'll put all of it in the show notes so you can just click away and be part of the movement just like that. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being on it. We really, truly appreciate your time and really cannot say thank you. And congratulations to really starting something magical.
Awesome. Thanks. It's great to be on and had a great chat.
Great. Thanks again for joining us this week. It's been a blast as usual. Next week, we've got a really interesting guest. Here's a quick sneak peek.
And what we've seen is a breakdown in communications. So when I was growing up, we only had 4 channels in rural Ontario on the television, and we had an implicit trust with the broadcaster. For the free content that we were enjoying, every 15 minutes would be a commercial break with 4 to 5 ads, and we couldn't fast forward it in those days and skip it and all those things. But it was balanced so that we knew those ads were paying for the content, and we could watch a few of the ads, and some of them were interesting and gave us information and helped us discover new products, for example. But then technology started allowing ads to be placed everywhere all the time, and it got abused, frankly. And to the point where now people have reacted with ad blockers, and both sides are losing out.
Thanks, everyone, for joining in and tuning in this week. Next week, we've got another really cool episode. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peek. I'm going to try to do this and see how this works. If you guys are interested, like the little sneak teasers, let me know. I'd love to hear back from all of you. And don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. And let me know if you know of another Canadian innovator that's doing something really cool around the world. Let's get them showcased. Or if there's an innovation trend that you would like to specifically focus on. Anyways, looking forward to hearing from all of you and talk to you next week. Cheers.